When I was younger, my teacher used to make me play J.S. Bach music from the suites at every single lesson. And it was really fun. I really enjoyed it. And I think looking back that was a great idea and a really great influence on my playing and my career in general. So today I want to talk a little bit about how to go over the music of J.S. Bach, how to be creative, how to work on the music. Because when I think back, it was awesome that I had to work on the music, but at the same time, looking back, I don't feel that my teacher gave me enough guidance on exactly how to work on this great music. And as a result, I never really had the appreciation for this music until I got older and really tried to figure out how to play it correctly or beautifully, and what really was inside all of those notes that you see in the page. You see, when you start working on Bach, it just seems like a lot of notes to play, and a lot of people tell me that they think that Bach is boring, which of course it isn't. But it can be boring if you really don't understand the insides of it and try to find things. So I want to start off with a little story about when I was young, and I used to go to the dentist all the time because unfortunately, when my teeth were growing in, somehow genetically, I had a lot of cavities and I had to go to the dentist a lot. So the good thing about that was that every time I went to the dentist, he had a little treasure chest and it was full of these little toys, and I could sift through the treasure chest and find these really, really nice toys for me to play with, like little rubber animals or little things. And I learned quickly that if I dig to the bottom of the treasure chest, I could find things that were there that other people hadn't discovered yet. And so basically that's how I look at Bach. It's like a treasure chest full of things, and you have to sift through all those things and find things that you like and then use them in your playing. So let me play a little bit of Bach for you. So this is the Courant from the Cello Suite Number 2 in D minor, and it's a wonderful piece because there's so much to it and a lot to work on. So the first thing I do when I look at the music is I see what kind of patterns are there, what are the similarities, what things are different, what types of things are there. So the first thing I see is that there are a lot of runs of 16th notes, like that. So what I do is I'll figure out what is my way of playing the 16th notes here. Should I play them at the frog and off the string? Should I play it at the tip and more smooth? So I tend to go to the tip and play more smooth because I like that sound. I like the fullness that I can get. When I play smoother, it gives me the feeling of some sort of a momentum. Like an image that I see is a snowball starting at the top of a hill, and as it comes down, it gets bigger and bigger because of the momentum that you get. If I play off the string, it's kind of more individual notes, and then I don't get as much momentum. Let's take a look at that. So in other words, the second note borrows energy from the first note. The third note borrows energy from the first and the second note, etc., etc. And that helps me to get really great energy when I'm playing music that is kind of a perpetual motion going on. Now, the next thing that I look at is on the second measure, I have an accidental. I have a C sharp. To me, anything that deviates from the key is important. Anything that's different from the key is important. So that C sharp is really important. From a technical standpoint, we're in the key of D minor. The dominant of D minor is A major, and the third of A major is a C sharp, which is important. And so it's also C sharp is the leading tone to D. So we have all these great things. But all that aside, and if we know that or not, it doesn't really matter, because all we know is that there is an accidental, a note that's not in the key signature, and that's important. So I always want to show things that are different. People are interested in things that are different. If I had 20 white cars lined up and one blue car in the middle, that's the one that we would all see. So remember, look at things that are different. And there's the C sharp, the enharmonic, or not the enharmonic, the dissonant note, the note that's not in the key signature. So I'm going to show it off. And that shows exactly to me how I should play that. Now after that, it comes into Now what's important about that is that now I have these bowings that are built into. So what I'm going to do first is play with only straight notes, no slurs, and then I'm going to see what I can do to make the music more interesting. So I'm going to play that same passage with no slurs at all. It sounds kind of academic to me. It sounds kind of boring. So what can I do to add a little bit of salt and pepper and spice to this? Well, my answer is add some bowings. Well, in Bach, I know that Bach was a religious guy, so I always take into consideration the religion aspect and try to symbolize when I'm playing, because that gives someone to listen to, and it keeps me very consistent as a player. So I'm going to think of the Holy Trinity, one of the more religious aspects that there is, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So that's three things, the Trinity. And so I do a lot of bowings when I play Bach that are based on three notes. So I'll slur three notes. So you'll notice I put these patterns of three slurred notes in, but to make it interesting, well, let's just listen to that. I'm going to put three note slurs in a couple of times each measure, and then we'll hear the difference. So here's straight notes. And I'm going to add three groups of three slurred notes. So that already adds a lot of interest to me, and it makes sense to me because now I'm adding a symbol to the Holy Trinity, and that gives people's ears something to grasp onto, so they're going to be more interested in the music. And I'm more interested in the music because now I'm adding things that I think are appropriate, and I'm starting to feel that I'm a musician, which is totally awesome. And that's why we study music, to become a musician and to really love music. So from the beginning now, I have a C sharp that's interesting. I have a bow stroke that I'm going to play on the upper half and kind of use momentum. And then I'm going to start adding bowings to add more interest to the music. And that to me is really, really exciting. So as we go on, I find that there's some places that we have string changes. So I have to figure out, how do I want to approach string changes? So let's listen to that passage. Well, that's interesting because I have this string crossing passage, but then I have a big range down to the bottom of the instrument. Let's talk about range. Well, we have high range and we have low range. The high range is up here, but now we get to the middle range, low. Where the low range really takes over, even though there are very few notes. That is in Bach what we call the bass line. So whenever we get to a bass line in Bach, it's very important, but people need to hear it. We need to show it to people. So now I'm going to be concentrating on bowings, my bow stroke, and showing that bass line. Like that. So now I have, you heard those 3 notes show off the bass line, and now I'm becoming more successful at playing the music of J.S. Bach, which is exactly what I want to do, and that's why I'm studying this. It's enriching my musical life, which is awesome. So this is really fun to do. So now there's a place that kind of goes up high. And I have an ending. So when I get to an ending and I'm practicing, I just pause there and try to make the whole piece finish there, and then I can go off somewhere else. Kind of like when I'm driving and then I get to a stop sign and I sit there and rest a couple of seconds and then move on. So I'm going to try to emulate that when I play. I don't move, and then I'm going to start. But as you notice, the next part, it is a totally different musical scheme than there was before in the piece. So I have 2 things here. I have a little high voice that's slurred. That's always the same, so I have to practice that. But this part, the first one goes up, the second goes down to an accidental. Remember, the accidentals are important. And then it goes to the dominant A, so it resolves itself. When you hear that in practice, you're going to hear these, and then these, and you're going to hear how I use the line using the accidental, and the upwards motion, and the downwards motion, and the resolution. Like so. I think I played a wrong note. Oops. So one more thing I want to talk about Bach. I always try to borrow things from the period the music is written from and play from the period where I am right now. So that gives me kind of a hybrid approach to playing Bach. I've got a little bit of, 21st century stuff going, but I also borrow from that 17th century stuff, which is really interesting. Well, back then, a lot of open strings, a lot of non-vibratos. So a lot of times when I get especially an open A or something, I love to play open strings here. So there's a difference to me between, I like the open string. Most people play, but I love that open sound there. So don't be afraid to incorporate open strings in the music. So the things we're looking for here are patterns, a very consistent way of playing, whether you're on the string, off the string, tip, frog. Differentiations between things. Are we playing bass lines? Are we playing running notes? What kind of music is this? Is there a pattern? Whenever there's a pattern, people need to be shown what the pattern is. So we always need to show patterns. And that's our job, because when people can hear the patterns, then they can hear the music better. And then they don't think it's boring. And when we find the patterns, then we don't think it's boring either. So it's a win-win situation. Let me just play you that beginning one more time. Like that. There you could hear those patterns of 3. You could hear the bow strokes. You could hear the accidentals, the notes not in the key signature, some open strings. And that really makes the piece sound wonderful and feel wonderful to play. And that's how I approach Bach. And I can tell you, I wish that my teacher would have told me half of these things when I was younger, because it would have saved me a lot of grief trying to figure out how to play Bach. Because I always knew it was important, but I didn't know how to get myself into it. And really, that's a great start. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope we'll all be able to play a lot of J.S. Bach and enjoy it for the rest of our lives. And until I see you the next time, happy practicing.